Quit your job, buy a business. I realized I would hit my goals, but I wouldn't have fun in life. Fortune 1 company, and they gave me a $2 billion budget. I was helping business owners directly. They would see like net income, 2x, 10x, 18x, going from like 184,000 to 3.4 million in 2 years. Is everything we do illegal?
How did you get into this space?
This man, he said, you're smarter than me. You're better with people than me. You're a better communicator. How did somebody ever convince you to be an employee?
Let's jump into this thing. Tell me, what is your business and how do you make money?
That's great. So I run YOLO Accounting. We do accounting and tax work and M&A analysis. So if you're going to buy or sell a business, we can help you with that. And that's how we make money. Taxes, bookkeeping, sometimes payroll, other accounting activities, due diligence, things related to buying and selling a business.
How old is the business you have?
So I have two. I started an accounting firm and then I bought an accounting firm and I closed on this one April 19th. And this one was originally started in 2004. So it's been around for a while.
Been around for a while. And give me, so you started and you bought, give me an idea of kind of what's the top line revenue? How many employees do you have?
Oh God, the employee numbers are hard. So top line is like 2 million. I say the employee numbers are hard because I separate them into groups. So I think there's 3 and 1, 8. We also did 2 hires, and I don't include myself. And then what I don't mention is I also have YOLO Companies, which is the entity that keeps searching for new businesses at all times. And so then there's 4. That's a very self-managed team. There's 4 people there right now, and that team scales up and down that are every day looking for new businesses for me to buy that are in accounting businesses.
We're at like 16. Is it 16 employees?
Yeah.
Okay. What's combined top line revenue for the accounting companies?
Yeah. So it'd be 2 million top line, and then include across, both of those, like search and actually doing accounting.
How did you get into this space? What's your background? I hate asking that question actually, because you're like the Dos Equis guy. Just most interesting woman in your case in the world. What's your background?
Unusual background. So I went to college, graduated with a business degree in liberal arts. I just like school. I like nerding. I like learning. Nerding isn't a verb, but it's actually very factual for me. And then I came straight into consulting. And if anyone's ever heard of Accenture, I went to Accenture, moved straight up to, I was about to go managing director, for those who know what that means. If you don't know what that means, which is most of the normal people, I worked in Fortune 500 companies. So literally the top largest 500 publicly traded companies. And for most of my time, I actually spent it in like the Fortune 50. And I did the Fortune 1, Fortune 2, Fortune 3 at some times. So I worked with really big companies and I did a lot of things.
You're a big deal.
I worked with big companies. And I had a lot of experience. I reported to every C-suite that existed up until 2015. Like there's new ones, like chief people officer, like people don't hear about people back then. And, so for example, but in accounting specifically, like I reported up to like the VP of the then Fortune 1 company, and they gave me a $2 billion, the CFO of the then Fortune 1 company, and they gave me a $2 billion budget. And they were like, 31% of this is miscellaneous. We need to figure out what we're paying for. And then we need to like be able to cut costs. And it wasn't just like cut headcount. Right. And so it was like to the point where it was like, okay, what is this? So for those, bookkeeping, like, what is this billing code? The person who knows that left the company 10 years ago. That was the level of complexity of accounting stuff. And there was like another one where it was like a $1,000 bookkeeping codes, and it was like a $300 million cost reduction. So
essentially $600 million is in this miscellaneous category that you had to comb through.
Oh no, we had the whole budget. So 31% is miscellaneous.
You're like $2 billion, but 31% is miscellaneous. So that's about $600 million, right?
Right. But if 31% is miscellaneous, most of the rest of it ain't right. So, so you come in with the assumption that of this percentage, at least 50% is wrong. There's a miscellaneous, and then if we at least 50% needs to be rearranged somewhere. It was a going in assumption. Yeah, obviously if I'm trying to find the right information and the person who knows it left 10 years ago, that tells you how long ago they did it. And it was because they're in an industry that makes so much money that they didn't really have to worry about this. And they were in the largest downturn in the history of the industry since like the 1800s. And so they were like, we have to do something unique. And I had built a brand like, bring Yvette on and you'll save a bunch of money without having to fire people. So that was it.
Was that like your first experience kind of whetting your appetite for being an entrepreneur? Because like being an entrepreneur isn't like being like a CPA where you're going in every day and okay, these are my set of objectives.
No, I'm an entrepreneur because my dad told me when I was 10 that he didn't come to America so I could knock on doors. So I've had two great summers in my life. One, I was 10 years old and I started 5 businesses. And this business, my favorite one, I did lemonade stand and I was like, oh my God, the ROI is stupid. It's super hot and no one's stopping. They don't find me cute. And my neighbors actually didn't like me. So it's not helpful. Like didn't like me as in they played baseball on my yard without me. Yeah, we were in a black family. It was very challenging. And then, so I was like, I'm going to go to you. So I did it because Girl Scouts had this whole, brand of cookies. I was like, I'll just make them. No one cares about the actual cookies. They're just like, you're a 10-year-old with a smile and these people are upper middle class. And so like, if they say no to your like $2 cookie, they just kind of feel bad. I just instinctively kind of figure that out. And this says a lot about how I think still now. So my mom, again, they didn't support this whole idea, but my mom bought some cookie stuff and she was like, oh, we're going to do a girly thing together and make cookies. And so I was like, yeah. So she made the cookies and then I took the orders and then I was going to deliver the order that I wrote down the house, the number of cookies, because I had like 3 different types, got to keep options, pricing. But then I lost a sheet of paper for technology. But again, I figured out a win. Go to their door and I would always have a plate of all the different types. And I'll be like, hi, it's usually a Mrs. Hi, Mrs. So-and-so. I have your cookies that you ordered. Tell me again how many snickerdoodle, how many chocolate, and how many da-da-da. So then they would just tell me, and then I'd be like, here you go. And then I would give them the cookies. So division of labor, outsourcing, client-facing relationship.
Yeah.
And also all I did, and I did it all by myself. And not all by myself. Like my mom obviously helped with that, but like that's still kind of who I am. I never spent $1 that I made. I always asked for an allowance for actual spending money. And I just put in this green piggy bank that I had until I was 26. I still wish I had it. Yeah, I kept every dollar I made from like age 9 or my allowance. Cause I also learned like I had $1 allowance, but I learned like people don't really remember that. So you ask your mom, then you ask your dad, then you wait 4 days, then you ask again. So I saved like $997. And I wrote a contract to my parents when I was like between 10 or 11.
Okay, you're like a whole level of crazy.
Well,
I wrote a contract to my parents when I was 10 or 11. Jeez,
well, here's the
my
thing:
son came to me with a contract, I'd be like, "What the freak is this, Roy? Get out of here!"
Well, no, it was legit. So basically, I had saved up this money, and then we're going to Nigeria, and they were like, "Hey, kids, like we want you to support the trips to Nigeria." And I was like, "Well, this is my money. I mean, yes, some of it came through allowance, but the ownership was transferred to me."
Yeah.
So I was like, here's the money. And I wrote a contract and then I rounded to $1,000. I literally kept that contract until I was 25 years old. That was when I gave up on them repaying me. So I was serious.
Oh my gosh. Why did you finally give up? All right, now's the part of the show where I feel the most uncomfortable, but my therapist says I need to face my fears. So here we are. I've started a newsletter and I want you to subscribe. And what you're going to get every single week are the aggregated conversations from that week that I have on this podcast with an overview of what their business actually looks like. I'm also going to throw in a review of 1 or 2 businesses that are listed for sale. I'll give you my opinion on whether or not the EBITDA multiple is good, or there's customer concentration, or there's red flags or green flags. And then lastly, I'm going to give you one piece of actionable advice every single week on how to buy your first business. So click the link below, subscribe to my newsletter, and let's get back into the show.
I realized they were never going to repay me. Now, to be fair, my parents did feed me and help me go through college.
To be fair.
But the thing is,
my parents did feed me and give me a roof and clothed me.
Right.
And gave me
but there are different contractual obligations, right? So say, for example, you have an employee and you have bonus and you have base, you have overtime. So there's different categories of obligations. And this was a contractual obligation that I had both of them sign and date. I don't even know how I knew what a contract was, to be quite honest, because my parents are not entrepreneurs. I have no memory of entrepreneurship before this summer. I have no memory of watching a TV show about this. I don't know where I got this from.
Was that somewhere like the impetus where you're like, yeah, I think I want to do this entrepreneur thing?
Well, I just did it. I loved it. And then, so after
You're
the
like,
cookie
this is
thing,
so fun creating a contract for my parents to sign. I want to do this with random people I don't know.
well, I don't make it sound weird like that, but but yeah, it was fun. And so, for example, like I read Nancy Drew, and then
Yeah.
most people like want to. So I was like, oh my god, I could spy on my neighbors, then write a newspaper that's interesting. And then I was like, but then I realized I can't climb trees because I don't know how to climb trees, and there are no trees in my neighborhood to climb because it's like a new development. So then
Oh
I
my
just started
God.
writing a newspaper, handwritten, which in hindsight I didn't use. I should have been more fast forward to technology. We did have a computer, but the second article was about my mom's poop, which again seems crazy now, but as a 10-year-old, I didn't know poop from mom could smell, and I thought that was breaking news. So that's how the paper got shut down.
I love I love how you're deterrent for spying on people. You're like, my idea was to copy Nancy Drew and spy on people and write, but I realized I couldn't do that because I couldn't climb trees. Like the deterrent for not spying on people was because you couldn't climb trees, not because you realized you should be spying on people.
Well, no, Nancy Drew did it, and she's a good person.
I know.
So I would be doing it for good reason, so I could share inciting news with everyone.
It reminds me, I don't know when you were growing up. It just reminds me when I was growing up in the 90s and all the TV shows that you just thought was normal. And like looking back now, you're like,
Oh my god.
I remember there's this show called Boy Meets World, and
Yes.
there's this girl on there. Her name's Topanga,
Svanga,
and
yes.
there was an
Corey.
episode where they like talked about her weight gain. I've looked back at it now, and I'm like, she looks like a normal girl, right? Like she's just a normal teenage girl. And I'm like, how did they get away with that in the 90s? It just was so weird for me, like as a parent now looking back. But yeah, Nancy Drew spying on people, and you're
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, but she's a good person, so I can write an article about my mom's poop. Makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah. So it got shut down. But so that is when my entrepreneurship goals started. And then I was told, like, I mean, my parents, we immigrated from Nigeria. My parents are super hardworking. And, they wanted me to be like a professional, which meant doctor, lawyer, engineer. Lawyer was the one. So they were just like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Like, you're wasting, like, we did sacrifice for this. And so, yeah, so that got shut down. And then, but I also take ownership. I could have, I could have just rebelled.
What was the moment for you that it was like, all right, I'm ready to be an entrepreneur? So you were working at these Fortune 50 companies, managing large budgets, doing well, you're on partner track. You're not there now, right? So like there's a moment in time where you probably said to yourself, I think I want to do this on my own. Like what was
Yes.
that? Why? What made you jump?
Well, so a little bit is I also had side hustles
Okay.
throughout this corporate career. And then I would tell my teams, and they'd be like, "Why do you know that you have an executive job at the largest consulting firm in the world? Why are you running an Airbnb? Like, why do you have a financial planning business on the side?" And I was like, "You don't?"
Yeah.
And I was like super weird. I mean, it was just super weird. So I was dating someone who was an entrepreneur, never went to college,
Okay.
and multimillionaire, which is very, very relevant in the fact because I had a cash flow, no, sorry, a net worth forecast from in my 20s up until age 50 was pretty accurate. It got a little fuzzy, but it went up to 100. And I realized I would hit my goals, but I wouldn't have fun in life. And so I'd already quantified it, said, hey, I was going to hit my goal, which is much lower now, much higher now. But I was like, this man. And then I remember, and he's very direct, and most people would think this is very mean. But the very first day we met, he said, "You're smarter than me. You're better with people than me. You're a better communicator. How did somebody ever convince you to be an employee?" And then I would have like wins at work, and he'd be like, "Honestly, can't be happy for you because you don't own it." And you hear that shit every day.
Oh my
So
God.
we eventually stopped seeing each other for other reasons. But
For
that
other
was
reasons.
ingrained. I mean, he had strengths and weaknesses,
Sure.
but but it was like, I can't be happy for you because you don't own it. He would literally be like, "Do you own a piece of this?" I'm like, "Dude, it's Accenture." He's like, "Can you negotiate percentage?" And I'm like he literally was just like, "I don't care if it's Goldman Sachs. I don't care who you work for. If you don't own it, it doesn't process information." One day, it was literally that I tried. It was literally that. Like one day, I woke up on a Monday, nothing had happened out of the normal. I still was doing my side hustling, still moving up, and I was like, "Girl, if you do not quit this company, you about to just get promoted again." And then I was like, "You just need to go." And so I woke up on a Monday and I was like, you need to go. And then on Tuesday, I was like, oh shit, I got to tell people. And then Wednesday, I had a meeting, and I won't go through the details, but the person was so supportive. I also have been hit by a car, and I've been in pain every day for 11 years. So throughout that entire career, I was like in pain. Oh, that $300 million cost reduction thing I talked about, I was on pain meds so hardcore. I could only function for part of the time. So I was on pain meds. I was like never at full capacity. I just have high intensity ability to work. But he was just like, honestly, I've never even heard of somebody being able to do this job with the amount of physical pain that you're in. Like I couldn't wear like earrings at that point because my ears would get like they couldn't hold them up.
Oh man.
And
Yeah.
I couldn't wear, I mean, I still don't wear necklaces because my neck gets so irritated. So anyway, the firm was very supportive. They were just kind of like, they were like, you can go. And then I did like a 4-month project in like 3 weeks. And then, because I didn't want to leave in a bad spot, then they were like, just come back whenever if you change your mind. So I know that's a little long, but I think it was just the buildup.
There's a buildup. You've been doing side hustles. You get in this car accident. You have the thought to yourself, I'm going to mess around and get promoted again. Gosh dang it. And
Well, it was never like I wanted to. I mean, sometimes okay, so my last promotion was a goal, but the one before that, I honestly just like wanted to help out like the client, and like I had like this team that sucks. Like one of the guys refused to work with me because I was a woman. He believes women should be secretaries, and I just wanted to help people. So the last one, they were like, "Oh, you're promoted." I was like, "This was before." Now I was like, "Oh no, it's fine. I don't need it." They were like, "Let's sit you down. When you do a project of 3 people by yourself, we go to bat for you." And I was like, "Oh, thank you." No, honey, you just did something. You just did a project of 3 people as the most junior one by yourself with no prior experience. And you were harassed by 2 different people during this process. You've earned this. And I was also in a very entrepreneurial community at the time. So and I also started noticing, and this is the last thing, we change topic, but the freedom, even though like it's still entrepreneurship has strings like you would know. Like right now, I am getting an apartment in a whole new city so I can support my team because my team needs me. And when my team asks me, do I want to live here during the week? I say no, but you need me, right? Because I'm here for you. But it's a choice, right? And for example, I won't say the name of the company, but like one down from the head of HR at one of the 5 largest banks in the world.
wow.
And in the US. We were both in the same program that required a lot of vacation time. And she had to get someone in the C-suite to approve her vacation time. I'm like, this woman, this is like CEO, CHRO, she here. And you still need PTO approval? I can't do that.
That's crazy. You would think that they just would say, hey, you have an unlimited PTO policy, right? Like just get your work done.
No, I mean, it was a lot of days, and she had literally, and I planned well, like as a paid job, but like not for fun. She had taken an entire calendar and marked off all her days for the year. And it was like, oh, so many days, all her travel days, her flight days. She planned an entire year of travel, and they approved it very quickly because she's fantastic. But that's the level of like, I was just like, I will not work so hard to still need to ask permission like a 2-year-old.
I mean, that's why a lot of entrepreneurs do what they do, right? They want control over their lives, their schedule, what they work on, what meetings they're a part of, what meetings they're not a part of. So it's crazy to me that somebody at that high of a level is asking for PTO, but I guess it also makes sense when you have a hierarchical organization. Why accounting? Like you had all these side hustles. Like, why were you like, all right, going on an accounting firm? YOLO.
I really love helping people. You only live once. Let us do the numbers. You focus on the business.
I love it.
I really love helping people. So after that, I started helping small businesses. I was really sick, actually. So I left, and like my body was just like, all that health that you weren't taking care of, we're going to make it all at once. I was actually qualified for disability. I was like, I'm going to start a business. And so I could only sit up for like 3 hours a day for a while. So I was like, well, I really understand business structures. So I was consulting, and I was helping business owners directly. They would see like net income, not revenue, the money at the end, 2x, 10x, 18x, one point from like 184,000 to 3.4 million in 2 years, 3 COVID shutdowns, and no headcount reduction. All staff got paid more. He definitely got paid more. his dad was actually like at the end of like the year, son, is everything we do illegal? And so, because it was the highest, it was the business they'd ever been, like in the history of the 50
Yeah,
year
was he
history
looking
of
at you
business.
sideways?
Right. No.
Was
But it
it
was like, he just like, yeah, dad, we good. And then actually, so then I was helping people. I just love helping people. And so I noticed, so also then one of my clients thought about bringing me as an equity partner and then changed his mind. And I was like, I'm never going to put anyone in that position again where you can just change your mind. And they explained to me why they changed their mind. And I was actually their most trusted person apart from their wife. So imagine someone rejecting you, explaining to you why they reject you, and then while you're doing it, you're coming from such a place of help and service that you are the emotional comfort.
Yeah, I've been there.
I was like, yeah, not my life, never again. So after that, I was like, I'm owner, and I just don't do consulting. So I just wanted to change. I like B2B, and I wanted to change the type of service. Like I could come out of cold dead sleep and tell you how to improve margins. You see how exhausted I just got?
It makes sense, right? Because it's like, all right, I want to be an entrepreneur. What am I really good at? Easy, right? I know that I'm good in this space. So getting a CPA firm offering those types of services for you fits
Right.
your skill set really well.
Well, and then there's the last piece is when I was helping SMBs, I would do across people, process, and profit. And I was like, girl, why don't you just keep your life easy? You like, just keep it simple. Focus on one part of a business. And I noticed everyone thinks, let me grow a business. They instantly think marketing, sales. What they don't realize is the finance and accounting side. So for example, with one client, we took $500,000 of fixed cost and translated it to a variable cost that the customer paid for. So it went from $500,000 to zero, right? Because the customer is not paying. And that's $500,000 straight to your bottom line. And first, you have to have good books to do that. People don't calculate. Like people will be like, we have 3 ad vendors. Which ones get you the best clients? What do you mean? What are their campaigns? Wait, I don't know. Okay, which clients stick around? What's the LTV? So it was basically, I saw that in the S&P space, accounting and finance were the least underserved. I really love to serve, and I'm learning to be selfish in the way that is necessary for me to be happy and healthy and get the things that I want. And so if you go into a space where people are so underserved, I'm automatically serving. So I wouldn't have to feel like I'm choosing between. Does that make sense?
Totally makes sense. I think anytime you're an entrepreneur, you want to get to a place where your skill set and what you're passionate about obviously overlap.
Right.
And in your case, the fact that you're passionate about serving people allows you to do a lot of different things with your skill set. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like that's a great passion to have. If you're like, oh, I'm passionate about mini figurines that reenact the Civil War. Okay. It's kind of hard to find like an expertise that, fits that passion, but serving people can be applied to so many different industries and business types. Tell me about the business itself. How do you acquire customers right now? Like, are you doing digital customer acquisition? Are you doing organic? Is it all word of mouth? Like, how are you getting customers?
Yeah. So we need to upgrade, but honestly, our website, which still needs work, we get like 3 to 7 cold leads a week.
Just from your website?
Yeah.
Jeez Louise.
And I was like, I started smiling because like, you are not going to love this answer. So it's an underserved industry. And so we have to actually say no because most people aren't our avatar. If you are listening to this and wondering if you're our avatar, if you are a business owner between 1 to 20 million in revenue and you want bookkeeping services, because we want to get in and really help you understand and make data-based decisions. So we need to have regular monthly services with you. We also do tax and things like that. So like that's our avatar. Or if you're trying to buy a business and you want to do like a quality of earnings report, that's our avatar. If you're trying to sell a business and you want like to be able to sell for more money by having your data cleaned, like your accounting cleaned up. Because most people are like, I'm going to go sell. And Nick, you know this. Like as soon as people start seeing your messy accounting, they start discounting that price. And then they start making assumptions like, ooh, the accounting is messy. I can only imagine what the processes are going to be a little bit messy. This is going to be messy. So people start making a lot of decisions. Yeah. So we get referrals, website, cold. And then people also reach out to me directly through, Twitter, LinkedIn, Search Funder. a friend, WhatsApp groups. So we're now to the point where I want to build a more formal channel.
Have you found that those channels are the best, or are they just the ones that are working, right? Like, does digital marketing work for a CPA firm?
Absolutely. So I was proactively on Twitter marketing, and I got it when I was active. The thing is, it's if you think these people active on Twitter with great content, like Nick and others, are casually doing it, shit is not casual. It's
No.
work. So I could do 14 posts, 5 leads. I also was always focused on inbound. So I've done outbound marketing in my life, and I realized I just don't like it. I prefer to just provide you good help and you want to work with me. So I don't DM people like, hey, do you want to work with me? I would pay somebody else to do that, but I'm not going to do that. I would rather just put really great content out there and have you be like, hey, can you help me? And so what happens is I've had, people be like, I saw this content. I want to see if you can help me with my books. Also, my friend's going through a really bad time with their accountant. Can you help them?
Mm-hmm.
So I get a lot of that too. And then I got connected with the state of Ohio, and I'm like an official someone to like help with M&As with the state of Ohio. And then there's something in the works with the state of Virginia, and there's something in the works with the state of Alabama. And then the state of Ohio, one department was like, oh, she can help with that. Well, can we do another thing? So I absolutely think digital marketing works. And the state stuff came through relationships that were built from online in addition to just direct leads. It just happens to be that I bought a business and it's kind of time consuming. And so I just haven't had as much time.
You just haven't gotten to the place where you can be more methodical about, all right, what's my customer acquisition cost? What's my LTV? How do I go out and acquire new customers from different channels? Because you have the one you started, but you also just bought a business in April. So there's a lot of stabilization that's going on.
Yeah. And we're just now at the point where we want to kind of make that, because I also wanted to clean up the sales process on our end once it's inbound. So I've been cleaning up the sales process on our end. You're going to have so someone comes in so for example, to talk to us, you have that sales conversation and we talk about what are you trying to accomplish with your business. We make it really simple. So at the end of it, you're going to be like, okay, these are the services we're providing for you. This is the timeline. Here's just the amount that is going to cost per month, like a Netflix account. So it's not like normally with an accountant, you're like, I don't know how much it's going to cost, but we have a fixed amount. So I wanted to, for our non-M&A work, I wanted to get that really dialed in. And so now we've got that dialed in to the point where now you want to turn on the funnel. It's kind of like you don't want to turn on the funnel if you don't like what's coming through.
Totally. Who does the fulfillment for your teams? Are they CPAs? Are they, overseas VAs? Are they bookkeepers? Like what does the fulfillment actually look like?
So this is not related to the answer, but I am passionate. The overseas people are humans. Sometimes they're virtual assistants, sometimes they're CPAs, sometimes they're lawyers. I'm not talking just to you, but I think I always say to people, the womb I was born in was in Nigeria. If I was still there, people wouldn't respect me as much. I happen to live here. I would have different opportunities, but the raw material is still the same.
Sure.
So in terms of fulfillment, we have a team of people in Richmond, where I am right now, Richmond, Virginia. Mm-hmm. And then in other states, we also have an outsourced team. So it just depends. But all the review work and client relationships is with someone in here, unless they're on vacation. Someone's on vacation right now or working remotely right now from another country. But yeah, so we have a lot of people in Richmond, and then some folks spread across the US.
Yeah, I mixed those two questions. Really what I meant was are these CPAs who are fulfilling the work, or are these, people who can just be trained on some of the functions there? And then past that, is your team remote, or are they in a location?
Got it. So that's a really good question. So CPAs do some of the work. So for example, when your tax returns start, we just redid our steps for tax returns. It starts with data entry. I could pay a CPA to do that, and they might choose to stay here or choose they want a better quality of life and not do boring stuff. So usually the person doing that is someone who is either a CPA, but they're a junior level employee, okay, or they're always junior, but maybe they haven't taken their CPA test yet, right? So there's if you think of a tax return, you have to enter the initial just raw data entry. Some of it we have technology that we use optical character recognition for. Some of it humans have to type in. And then there's actually doing analysis which can be done by one level. And then there's like a reviewer that is the final reviewer. So when you get a tax return from an accounting shop that's doing their job right, if they're doing their job right, there's at 3 people that have touched your tax return before it gets to you.
So are you, as a CEO, doing any of that work, or are you just managing the team? Like, do you do any CPA work? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. I'm not even, I don't, I'm an asset allocator acting as a CEO.
Great.
So
Yeah, that's great.
if that tells you where my mindset is.
Yeah, it's hard for many entrepreneurs who have a skill set in the business that they're running.
Yeah.
It's hard many times for them to not jump in, right? Like, it's a very natural reaction. Like, oh, things are getting hairy. Okay, I can jump in and do some fulfillment. And that's why I ask, because like you have a skill set in this, right? Like,
Yes. Yeah. So the reason I don't do that, there's 2 reasons. One, from as an employee, I remember once talking to one of my clients who tried to hire me away. And I was like, Oscar, you make me work so hard. And he was like, Yvette, I only assign you 1/3 of the things you do. And I was like, are you serious? He's like, yeah, the other 2/3 is just you. And I was
that's
like,
funny.
it took me a while to realize, like, oh my God, like I'm working too hard. Like he's like, you over exceed my expectations by 66%. And then the second was when I started my small business, I tailored it around me. And I had all these unique experiences because most people who had my corporate background never started a business. And then I did so much therapy. So I had all the psychological experience. Then I got really into Tony Robbins, which I skipped over, and like would travel and was mentored by him. So I had all that practical psychology experience. And then, I mean, I just had all these different unusual experiences. And I was like really into meditation, like the Hindu, Buddhist meditation. And I brought all of that into how I worked with people. And so when you would try to find someone, you'd be like, okay, well, let's find someone to do this. It'd be like, it was super hard. So I was like, that's not a business. That's just a human being working hard. So I was like, we're never doing that again. What we need is a business, which is where there are roles, there are processes. Jennifer may occupy the role now, but she may not later. She grew, promotion, she quit, whatever. So I never do anything that, because when I do stuff, I tailor it. And it's not about me. It's about the client and being able to serve the client on a repeated, ongoing basis. And it's about the team and growing them.
You're productizing.
So I'm productizing the business, absolutely. And I'm not going to do that if I make it focused on me, because then I'm trying to make my team have my skills, and they might be good at other things that I'm not good at. Right. So I don't think it's fair to them. I don't think it's fair to my clients, and it is not fun for me. And if you're trying to sell a business ever, don't put your name on it. That's the other thing. Don't put your name on a business. I learned that. People always assume you're the smartest person in the room.
Well, like, yeah, do you know who Alex Hormozy is?
Yes.
I used to think for a long time, I think a lot of people look at him and are like, he invests in these companies, but he never posts about any of them. I mean,
Yes.
School is the recent one, but he never posts. And I've always thought of that, like, that's kind of dumb. Like, why would he do that?
Yeah.
But his whole reasoning is like, I don't want to have key man risk in these businesses. If I ever sell them, I don't want to have to be looked at as like, oh, there's a discount here because you've been pumping the sales, or we need you to stay on for 3 years. He's like, if I sell, I want to be able to be done. I don't want to have any expectation moving forward. And the same is true for, like, don't put your name on the business. Otherwise, you become a part of the sale. Like, they're buying you as much as they're buying the business.
I completely agree with that. So when I forecast, I do not forecast any sales that come through me. I consider anything that comes through me gravy.
It's awesome.
That's not part of the business model. So I'm not meant to be a part of the business model. That doesn't, and so for people who are listening, like, that doesn't mean you don't roll your sleeves up, you don't work hard, you don't care about people. It means that you're committed to a business. And having the experience of working with so many businesses, like 25 different industries, Fortune 500, 1 to 20 million, it's like, you just realize, like, I'm not perfect. I make a lot of mistakes, but like, I'm committed to a business, which is a people and structure and functions that work without me.
That's where a lot of entrepreneurs get messed up, because they build the business around themselves and then they become a slave to the business. And anyways, like, there are obviously a lot of different philosophies on it, but that's not anything that I want to create for myself. I don't want to be a slave really to anything. All right, I have some rapid fire questions.
Okay.
We burned through a lot of time, which is awesome because I learned a ton about you that I didn't know today as well.
Oh,
All right, here we go. What do you love about this business?
it's necessary. I know people need it.
I like that. All right. What do you hate about it?
My staff is so resistant to change. All the changes, they don't believe anything that's not accounts are historical focused. So if it hasn't already happened, it's not true.
Yeah. What are you obsessed with right now? What are you spending your time thinking about or working on?
Oh, well, I was gonna say what I'm obsessed with right now is walking, walking now near the lake. In Austin. I live close to the water, and there's a lake, and it's really beautiful. So I'd probably be trying to take a walk. And I got some new outfits that are really cute for walking, so that has also helped. I feel like I shouldn't do an ad, but it's so hard for me as the numbers. Like, okay, so if you go to Athletics, brand new, it's 80% off for your first thing, and like I went in and I like bought a bunch of stuff, and they were like, "We've never seen anyone do this before," and I was like, "I don't understand. It's 80% off."
It's 80% off. What do you mean you've never seen anyone do this before?
They said people normally buy two things. I was like, I bought $500 worth of stuff for like $150 something.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, that's crazy. So yeah, so walking and we're talking to my best friend. Probably the two things I'm doing.
Okay. If you were giving advice to your pre-entrepreneurial self, what would it be?
Quit your job, buy a business.
Okay, that was very direct. I love that. Quit your job and buy a business. Fair? All right. Where's the best place for people to come find you? Where do you hang out?
Yeah, so I'm regularly hanging out on LinkedIn, less regularly on Twitter. Twitter's an amazing space. So yeah, find me on LinkedIn for the fastest response. Whether you're looking for a client or, business for sale that has 50% bookkeeping or you need help.
Your marketing is so great. YOLO accounting. I mean, it's like the most memorable company name. YOLO.
Yeah.
I freaking love it. All right. Well, this has been fantastic. It's great to see you. Good luck with the acquisition. Can't wait to check in with you in a year to see how things are going. And we'll talk soon.
All right. Thank you.